Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're taking a hard, strict biological look at exactly why you're constantly exhausted and, let's be honest, probably holding on to some stubborn belly fat. We're going to use actionable science to actually fix it. You know, if you've been feeling totally overwhelmed lately, you probably blame your crazy schedule, your boss, or your endless responsibilities. But, well, we're going to dive into the hard science to show you that the real problem, it's what stress is physically doing inside your body literally every single hour you ignore it. So, why are you always tired, even when you've supposedly slept? I really want to start by asking you this because your exhaustion, it isn't a time management issue. It's a full-blown biological emergency, and it's being driven by a hormone called cortisol. Now, you don't feel high cortisol the way you'd feel, say, a fever. You feel it as this intense brain fog. It's that weird wired and tired exhaustion where you're dragging all day, but then suddenly you just can't sleep at night. And yeah, it's that belly fat that absolutely refuses to budge, no matter what you do. But here's the really wild part. Research published in the journal Biological Psychiatry actually found that sustained high cortisol reduces the physical volume of your hippocampus, meaning it is literally shrinking the part of your brain that handles memory, learning, and emotional regulation. Crazy, right? To put this into perspective, let's look at this number, 83%. 83% of American workers report feeling chronically stressed. That means the vast majority of us are walking around right now trapped in this invisible biological threat state. We aren't talking about occasional stress here, like a tough week at the office. This is persistent, relentless, daily stress that's just been climbing year after year. Basically, your body is permanently stuck in what researchers like to call the cortisol trap. And there's a profound evolutionary mismatch driving this trap. See, your body was beautifully designed to pump out cortisol in these short, powerful bursts. Picture this. You encounter a predator, right? Cortisol spikes, your heart rate shoots up, your muscles tighten so you can run, you survive, the threat is gone, and the cortisol clears out of your system. Perfect. But here is the catch. Your brain? It actually can't tell the difference between a physical threat, like a bear, and an emotional one. So your body reacts to an angry email from your boss exactly like it's a predator. But the huge problem here is that the email never really goes away, the looming deadline never goes away. So that cortisol, it never fully clears out, and that stress cycle just never finishes. So, how do we fix this? Well, to get you out of this trap, we've synthesized the latest biological research from our sources into a comprehensive 24-hour manual. We are going to manually regulate your nervous system in 4 phases. First, resetting your morning baseline. Second, clearing acute daytime spikes. Third, quieting your brain at night. And finally, rewiring your stress response for good. All right, let's jump right into phase 1, morning, resetting the baseline and lowering that cortisol floor. You might not realize this, but how you handle the very first 30 minutes of waking up completely dictates your stress levels for the rest of the day. Why? Because your cortisol naturally peaks right after you open your eyes. And if you're already chronically stressed, well, that morning spike is just dangerously high. To lower that peak, clinics highly recommend doing what Japanese health experts call a Shizuka start, basically a silent start. First rule, absolutely no phone for the first 10 minutes. You want to avoid those cheap dopamine spikes that can literally shoot your morning cortisol up by an extra 30%. Second, you've got to delay that coffee by 60 to 90 minutes. If you drink it immediately, you're just stacking a heavy stimulant right on top of your natural cortisol spike, which is essentially training your body to store visceral belly fat. And lastly, take a quick 10-minute slow walk. Getting that light movement and early morning sunlight locks in your circadian alignment, which helps drop that cortisol for the entire day. Now, if you want to hack this morning routine even further, you can actually trigger a hidden evolutionary mechanism you've had inside you your whole life. It's called the mammalian dive reflex. And guys, this thing is so incredibly powerful that it can drop your heart rate by 25% almost instantly. It forcefully shifts your body out of that frantic fight or flight mode and right into a calm parasympathetic state. So how do we use it? By doing this simple 2-minute trick first thing in the morning. You aren't just splashing your face to wake up, you are proactively forcing your baseline cortisol floor to drop before the day even throws anything at you. Simply go to the sink and splash cold water on your face about 10 times, specifically targeting the area right beneath your eyes and nose. When cold water hits that exact skin, your body actually interprets it as being submerged underwater. Instantly, your vagus nerve fires up and your stress hormones just absolutely plummet. Moving on to phase 2, daytime, clearing acute spikes. This is all about regulating your nervous system in real time. Okay, so you've successfully lowered your morning baseline, but what happens when the inevitable panic actually strikes at 2 p.m.? If you follow the timeline here, you'll notice something super important. When a wave of anxiety hits you out of nowhere, your body isn't broken. It's actually responding to a very real chemical change. See, under acute stress, these tiny little air sacs in your lungs, they're called alveoli, they literally start to collapse. And when they deflate, it causes a physical buildup of carbon dioxide in your blood. An elevated CO2, it is without a doubt one of the most powerful triggers for human panic that exists. You aren't just stressed, you are experiencing literal chemical dread. But don't worry, to fix this quickly, we use something called the physiological sigh. An amazing Stanford study found that doing this specific double inhale technique, even just twice, rapidly pops those alveoli back open and clears out that toxic CO2. You just take a deep inhale through your nose to reinflate the sacs, then take one more short, sharp sniff right on top of that to fully expand them. Finally, just let out a long, slow exhale through your mouth. That exhale triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. It drops your physiological arousal way faster than meditating, and the best part is you can do it right at your desk in under 30 seconds. However, as great as that breathing is, it's actually not quite enough to finish the biological stress cycle. I mean, think about a dog that gets spooked by a really loud noise, right? What does it do? It shakes its entire body vigorously for a minute, and then boom, it wags its tail and trots off, completely fine. Animals naturally physically shake off a threat to discharge those heavy hormones. But us humans, we constantly suppress that natural urge so we don't look weird in a boardroom or a classroom. We act professional. And by doing that, we end up keeping all that cortisol locked permanently inside our bodies and our muscles. So based on the fascinating work of trauma therapist Dr. David Berceli, the solution is giving yourself permission to physically shake. Taking just a few minutes to do this safely discharges all those accumulated stress hormones right out of your nervous system. You literally just stand up, place your feet shoulder-width apart, slightly bend your knees like you're about to sit down, and just let your legs and body naturally tremble for 2 to 3 minutes. It sounds wild, I know, but by doing this, you are finally giving your nervous system permission to finish the exact cycle that your stress started. Now we enter phase 3, night, quieting the brain. Because believe it or not, your sleep is pretty much decided in that final hour before bed. Like I said, getting high-quality sleep is decided almost entirely by the signals your brain gets in the last 60 minutes before your head hits the pillow. If your cortisol is still running hot, your brain literally interprets your bedroom as an unsafe environment. It'll keep you trapped in this super light, fragmented sleep pattern. You see, your brain is the ultimate prediction machine. It will intentionally keep your cortisol high if it senses any unresolved tension. So, if you've got unfinished tasks just swirling around in your head, your brain assumes, hey, we might need to jump into action soon, and keeps your nervous system totally on guard. That is exactly why cognitive offloading, which is just a fancy term for writing down all your lingering thoughts, is absolutely critical to signaling biological safety. Basically, you have to prove to your nervous system that it is finally safe to power down. Here are your safety signals. First, dim your overhead lights way earlier than you think, like 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Remember, your brain doesn't look at a clock, it only understands light. Second, get those thoughts out of your head. Journal for 2 or 3 minutes to close those stressful mental loops. And third, use the Japanese long exhale breathing technique. You inhale for 4 seconds, and then stretch that exhale out for 7 seconds. Doing this physically calms the vagus nerve and mechanically shifts your body completely out of fight or flight mode. Which brings us to our final phase, phase 4, rewiring your stress response. Let's look at some foundational daily habits for long-term resilience. We're talking about incredibly simple, everyday actions here, but they really compound over time. For instance, psychologist Kelly McGonigal highlights the immense, literal power of your psychological perspective. Her research actually proves that simply choosing to view a stressful event as an exciting challenge or an opportunity for growth, rather than a dangerous threat, drastically reduces all of its negative health impacts. It's wild. If you talk to your stress kind of like a friend who just needs some reasoning with, your body's biological response actually physically changes for the better. And just take a look at this table. It brilliantly illustrates how incredibly simple, totally free daily habits can mechanically alter your brain chemistry. Something as basic as adopting an upright posture actually physically reduces fatigue and boosts your mood. Hugging a friend or cuddling, that releases a flood of endorphins and actively puts the brakes on cortisol production. And get this, fMRI brain scans show that just doing a 5-minute morning meditation actually creates permanent changes in the activity patterns of your amygdala. That's your brain's fear center, and those changes hold up even when you aren't actively meditating. You can actually even use your everyday chores to heal your nervous system. No joke. Researchers down at Florida State University found that mindfully washing your dishes, meaning, actually focusing deeply on the smell of the soap, the physical warmth of the water, the texture of the plates, doing that decreased people's nervousness by a massive 27%. Plus, it boosted their mental inspiration by 25. It acts as an anchor. It grounds you in physical reality and manually pulls your brain right out of that cortisol trap. So there we have it. You are now officially equipped with a complete 24-hour science-backed manual to pull yourself out of chronic exhaustion and reclaim your health. You know exactly how to reset your morning baseline. You know how to clear out those acute daytime spikes, and you know how to quiet your brain at night. So, my final question to you as we wrap up this explainer is this. Your nervous system has been desperately waiting for the right signal of safety. Which of these biological tools are you going to use first today to finally complete your stress cycle?